This week in the League of Legends, we have a 6.9 hotfix with an interim patch. We have our review of the updated items of 6.9 and some information about the banned players from the LCS. All this and more on the Spencer Gaming Web Show.
This is Water Elemental.
And this is Axis, and we are here today to talk about the League of Legends. This is an ongoing show. We talk a little bit about everyone's favorite move style battle game, and 6.9. It got changed, and it got tinkered with. So we're going to run over the patch notes really fast. It's nothing crazy. It's just they threw out a bunch of Mage updates, and now they're having to tune them. The first big one is to Malzahar. Call of the Void mana cost up by 20 to 80. Void Swarm mana cost up by 20 to 80. The damage that Void Swarm minions do to monsters, jungle minions specifically, is down to 50% from 75, and the null zone damage per second has gone down by 1% at each rank.
Very needed changes. I felt that Malzahar has been dominating a lot of mid lane games. I've seen him a lot of team builder, and yeah, he's very scary. I was underestimating his power the first time I went against him with Brand, so...
You underestimate my power!
His buffs are scary.
Cassiopeia was next on the list. The cooldown of Twin Fang went from 0.9 seconds to 0.75. The mana cost went down by 20 at the early ranks, and it filters back up to 80 at the cap rank. The cast range has been changed, so that way it starts at the center of Cassiopeia's hitbox and extends 700 units to the center of an opponent's hitbox. This means it's a lot easier to hit smaller targets, especially at range, and slightly more difficult to hit targets that are larger at range. Vladimir got a slight update to him. Transfusion's Crimson Rush healing bonus effect got buffed by an additional 1.5% per 100 AP, and Tides of Blood, the damage that it deals at the outer edge was increased slightly over the total ranks, so now it does an additional 20 to 40 damage at the last rank. Swain had a slight change to Decrepify. It now does more damage per second, getting about 5 per level, so that way it basically increases to a cap of 110 per second at max length. And that's really it. It was just a small patch to tinker with the mages that were incredibly powerful, which we're all thankful for. Having to sit through that for 2 weeks was pretty bad.
Yeah, I think I prioritized ARAM and the events of the day, or the weekend events, over playing Summoner's Rift, just because it was just so... I was seeing mages in places that normally wouldn't. So they had, like, I've seen 2 mage comps. I was seeing just all around some weird stuff because they were just so strong that they could compensate.
Duo mid or feed?
Duo mid, yeah, there was a duo mid. They didn't go with jungle, and it wrecked me.
Well, there you have it, folks. Next on our chopping block, we have a bunch of Mage itemization changes. These were in the patch for 6.9, but we didn't get a chance to go over them because that video was ridiculously long. So we're just going to run over them real quick. We've talked about some of these in a previous video, so we'll be kind of light to go on that, but let's run over them. Tear of the Goddess got changed. It has the same effect, but no longer has base mana regeneration, instead refunding 15% of the mana that you spend. Catalyst of the Aeons has been changed slightly. The previous name was Catalyst of the Protector. It's now Catalyst of the Aeons. The cost is down by 100, and it no longer gives you health and mana on leveling up. Instead, 15% of the damage you take from champions is gained as mana, and 20% of the mana you spend will regenerate as health, up to a maximum of 15 per cast on toggle spells. And spells that have a toggling effect only go up to 15. Chalice of Harmony is now 900 gold from 1,000, and instead of giving you health based on the amount that you're missing, mana based on the amount that you're missing, it now increases your base health regen by 100% if your current health percentage is less than your current mana percentage. If your current mana percentage is less than your current health percentage, you get 100% base mana regen. Next up is the Lost Chapter. This is a new item. 900 gold cost, builds out of an Amp Tome and a Sapphire Crystal. Grants you 25 AP, 300 mana, and it restores 20% of your maximum mana over 3 seconds upon leveling up. Fiendish Codex was nerfed slightly. Big increase in gold, up to 900 from 800, and the AP only went up by 5 points. Will of the Ancients is no longer available, unfortunately. However, they changed the number of items to compensate. First up is Roa. Rod of Ages now builds out of that Catalyst of Aeons. It has less ability power, down to 60 from 80, less mana, down to 300 from 400, and the mana per stack went from 40 to 10. However, it retains the Catalyst of Aeons passive of gaining 15% of the damage you take as health and 25% of the mana spent as health. I'm sorry, 15% of the damage taken as from champions as mana and 25% of the mana you spend as health. This has the same toggle reductions. Morello Namicon, the total cost went from 2,400 to 2,900. Now builds out of a Lost Chapter, a Fiendish Codex, and an Amp Tome. The total ability power went from 80 to 100. The item now gives 400 mana. It no longer gives flat mana regeneration, however, it grants you 20% of your maximum mana when you get a kill or assist. The 20% cooldown reduction afforded on this item is now unique, and Grievous Wounds now only inflicts on a target below 35% health, and it lasts for 8 seconds.
Athene's Holy Grail, the cost of it went down to 2,250 gold. It now builds out of a Chalice of Harmony, Fiendish Codex, and 450 gold. The ability power went down from 60 to 40. The mana regeneration went from 100 to 75%. It no longer restores 20% of your maximum mana on kills or assists. It does have a new unique passive, pre-mitigated damage, just like the Catalyst, and now it has a new passive called Harmony. Grants 100% base mana regen per 5 seconds if your current health percentage is lower than your current mana percentage. Grants 100% base mana regeneration per 5 seconds if your current mana percentage is lower than your current health percentage. So essentially, Athene's Holy Grail balances out your health and mana and equalizes essentially over time.
And it allows you to buff your heals and shields as well. Which is
Yep.
Tear of the Goddess had the slight changes to its upgrade items. So Archangel Staff and Mana Mune no longer grant flat mana regeneration, but instead refund 25% and 15% of your mana spent, respectively.
Abyssal Scepter, the cost of it went up. The Fiendish Codex plus new Negatron Cloak plus Amplifying Tome plus 965 gold is the new build path. Its ability power went down from 70 to 60. Magic resist went from 50 to 60. It has 10% cooldown reduction now, and it now gives 10 to 25 magic resist aura based on your level. It no longer applies to minions, though.
Which is good.
Yes.
Zodia's Hourglass cost went down by 600 gold, down to 2,900 gold. The AP went from 100 to 70. It now has 10% cooldown reduction, and the stasis cooldown on the effect is 120 seconds from 90. The Hextech items are next on the chopping block. They got a facelift. Hextech Revolver no longer provides spell vampirism. Its total cost went from 1,200 to 1,050, and it has a new unique passive where if you damage an enemy champion with a basic attack, it will shock them from 75 to 150 damage based on your level. It has a 40-second cooldown that is shared between all the Hextech items.
There are two new Hextech items. The first one is the Hextech GLP-800. It is 3,000 gold. It builds out of a Hextech Revolver plus a Catalyst and 850 gold. Has 80 ability powder, 300 health, and 400 mana. It has a unique passive called Eternity. At 50% of damage taken from champions is gained as mana. Spending this mana restores 25% of your base health, up to 25 health per cast. It also has a ability called Frostbolt. It sprays a icy bolt that explodes, dealing 100 to 200 damage from level 1 to 18. Enemies hit are slowed by 65%, decaying over 0.5 seconds. 40% cooldown shared among all other Hextech items. The Frostbolt ratio is 0.35, so this stacks up to your ability power.
And then this is the big one, Hextech Bruno Belt 01. This is a 2,500 gold item built out of a Kindle Gem and a Hextech Revolver. 60 AP, 300 health, 10% cooldown reduction. Unique active, dash. You dash forward and unleash a Nova of Fire Bolts that deal 75 to 150 damage based on your level. Enemies hit by the bolts will take 20% damage from additional bolts. 40-second cooldown, and the Firebolts have a 0.35 AP ratio. This item is bonkers.
This is why there's been a lot of anti-dashing hate now, because it's going to be more kind of prevalent with mages and stuff like that. So it's kind of nice that they're putting in the counters before they actually add the OP item.
Hextech Gunblade got a change to its unique active. It now deals 250 magic damage to the target and slows them for 40% for 2 seconds. It's now a 40-second cooldown, and it has a 0.3 AP scale. And those are the new items. They did tinker with the jungle items slightly, but we talked about that in the 6.9 video, so you guys can take a look at that and look around at it. The other big changes were to Ginsu's Rage Blade. This got changed to be a 3,600 gold item with the same statistics. However, it now applies 15% or 15 magic damage on hit. Your basic attacks will have the same stacking effect. However, it now applies 6 stacks from 8. It no longer applies an AoE effect, and it no longer doubles up on melee characters, but instead applies an effect called Ginsu's Rage. This makes every other basic attack trigger on-hit effects an additional time.
Really good.
The other items had this is a devour item for non-junglers. This is okay in my book. Black Cleaver had a slight cost reduction, losing 400 total cost and having its attack damage go down by 5. This is a massive buff to Black Cleaver. Spectre's Cowl, 30 magic resistance and 250 health now. However, it is 1,200 gold. BV got changed to give less health, down to 300 from 500. And the total cost dropped by 350 gold. Spirit Visage had the same total gold cost. However, the magic resistance went down by 15, down to 55. Health regeneration went up by 50, so 200% from 150. And the passive healing you receive is up to 25% from 20. This is a pretty big buff to Spirit Visage.
Definitely noticeable on those characters like Maokai or anybody else with like those passive heals, because it
Trundle has been the big one for me. It's crazy.
Nothing feels better when you hit like the passive where you queue for Trundle, and then all of a sudden you just see your health jump up just enough that it's noticeable. It's like, ooh, that feels good.
Guardian Angel cost went down by 300, and the magic resistance went down by 15. I don't mind them nerfing magic resistance items. It really doesn't bother me at all. There were some other changes to tank items. Bami's Cinder and Sunfire Cape had nerfs to them. Bami's Cinder now gives less health. Sunfire Cape now costs 200 additional gold. Cinder Hulk now gives better immolation at later levels, but worse at early levels. Vision Ward now only has 4 health from 5. Righteous Glory now has the Catalyst of Aeons effect, where it restores mana when you take damage and health when you spend mana. The active effect now only applies to yourself, and it lasts a lot longer and is a lot more effective. Warmogs got changed. It gives 50 less health, down to 800, and it now gives 10% cooldown reduction.
One thing you forgot to mention about the Vision Ward changes is now it regenerates 1 health every 3 seconds after a 5-second out of combat. So people can't just once or twice poke it. Either they kill it when they go, or else it will regenerate. And I think that's a really cool change, because it's just like, okay, people are going to do a couple hits and then back off. The ward's still going to be there, so they're going to have to come back and do it all over again. Because there are team fights that happen on top of wards, and people hit it once or twice, and,
So overall, good change for that. Relic Shield now gives 20 health on a kill to both you and your nearby ally, and Targon's Brace now gives 40 health on a kill to you and your nearby ally. This is a nerf to those items, but I say that's good. Too much sustain in lane, way too much. Spell Thief's Edgeline, Frostfang, and Frost Queen's Claim now gives 75% mana regen from 100%. They don't really like mana regeneration anymore, and they need to look at some old characters because their mana regeneration rates and mana costs are not in line. Whoops.
So the Hextech Sweeper went now to the Arcane Sweeper, so if you're searching it in the search bar, it is named something completely different. Not sure why.
Yeah, who plays 3s anyway?
I mean, come on, man. There's that one guy that keeps it going.
Yeah, well, that guy's cool. And that's it for official news. We're going to move on to the tournament stuff with the LCS. You know a lot more about this situation than I do. Tell me about these banned players. Or teams, rather.
The players had nothing to do with the bans. They're unfortunately kind of involved due to the fact that they weren't paid. So you will notice that the Team Impulse, Renegade, and a Challenger team, I can't remember the name of the Challenger team, have all been removed from the roster. They have a month to sell their LCS spots after the mid-season invitational to bring on new teams, or else they will be removed without compensation for losing their spots. And essentially, what happened is both teams were not paying their players. They were going against the code of conduct for Riot. Riot had to step in, be like, you guys need to pay your players. This is unacceptable. We're not going to allow this behavior in the LCS. Do the terms and conditions, blah, 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 blah. And then finally, Riot was like, well, you guys aren't, paying your players. This isn't all right. You guys are out. And several of the owners have been suspended for a year from owning teams or competing in any events registered by the LCS. And I think it's Team Impulse's owner has been permanently barred from anything to do with League of Legends in competitive scenes, either in the LCS or any third-party event that is sponsored by Riot. So he could probably compete in some like hometown stuff. But if he is caught competing in anything or owning anything in any sort of like minor leagues or challenger tiers and stuff like that, he will be fined and he will be prosecuted or something like that. I'm not sure about like punishment, but it's fairly interesting to see because I actually liked Team Impulse and Team Renegade. They didn't do this well this year, but I had high hopes for them since there were new teams and new blood in the LCS. I was like, all right, I can kind of get behind this. So I can see why they kind of did bad now because they weren't being paid, so they didn't have a reason to keep playing very well. So it sucks. It really sucks.
Well, there you have it, folks.
What do you think?
I don't. I mean, you should pay for them. There's so much money in esports these days. It couldn't have been easier to pay them. So, just a bunch of BS, corporate crap, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's it for official news. This is another one that's running a little bit longer than we normally do for a format, guys, but we're still looking for questions. If you have a question for us about the show, about League of Legends, about Spastic Gaming, about anything really, we just got off 2 long shows and we were eager to talk to you guys again. So please, please, please post them in the comment section below. Send them to our email, spasticgaming@gmail.com, or post them on our Facebook, Twitter, or website, all of which are linked in the information down below. We have a Patreon, patreon.com/spasticgaming. You can donate to that to get access to exclusive features, bonus content, and more. Just take a look. We recently updated it, so it better reflects what you will receive. So enjoy that. Otherwise, this has been Axis.
And Water Elemental.
And you moved!
Yeah, that's why things are kind of still equalizing. But things are working out. We're still going to be doing the show as normal. More content down the line. I got some Hex videos going. And whatever else we feel like doing. Maybe some Overwatch when it comes out.
That's pretty good stuff. Overwatch, I don't know. I got mixed feelings. We'll talk.
It's better than Battleborn, I gotta say that.
Womp womp.